What is up, blockchain gang? This is Danny Draghi, and we are back with another video called 100 Things Wrong with Nyan Heroes. To start things off, I want to be clear. I enjoyed roughly half of the time I spent with this game. I wouldn't waste my time with a long-form diss video about a game that I hated. That is what shorts are for. That being said, Nyan Heroes isn't a good game yet, in my opinion, but it has the potential to become a great game. That is why I'm pointing out all of these flaws, because I hope they'll fix them. There will be no price predictions, as the tokenomics are extremely predatory, with only 30% of the supply earmarked for players of the game itself. I can already anticipate the "it's early" comments, so I just want to say that I don't give a f. Pre-alpha is a bullshit made-up term anyway. Alpha is the first stage of development, so there's no such thing as pre-alpha, and I wouldn't care if it was Cathra Zeta-Jones phase because it's open to the public, which makes it open to public feedback. Or did you forget that's the whole point of early playtests? Starting off with movement, there's little or no character acceleration. The moment you push W or W and shift to sprint, you are instantly traveling at maximum speed. This makes tracking enemy side-to-side movement juddery, especially if your ping is over 50 milliseconds. It should be smoother, so that it takes a moment to stop moving left and another moment before you start moving right at your full speed. This effect is compounded when dealing with much smaller objects like cats. Each class has a mobility skill, and the speed you are traveling when it is activated will impact how far the skill moves you instead of always moving you a predictable amount. This can have some crazy, unexpected side effects when getting knocked back and then using a directional ability due to unclaimed acceleration values. Wall running feels good when it works, giving you an acceleration boost, but when it doesn't work right, it's frustrating. The angles you approach the wall to run sideways and vertical need to be tightened up so that it's always clear what the player intends to do. One way to solve this is to always run horizontal when the cat is running from the ground and always run vertical when the cat approaches the wall from the air to vault. At least this way it would never be a surprise. Sprint often doesn't work after using abilities, respawning, ejecting, or remeching unless you release sprint and press it again. You should offer a toggle option to always enable sprint, and shift can be used for wall climbing only. When cats are small, they should have the ability to wall jump like Mario to have increased aerial mobility. Communication, or should I say lack thereof. We need a way to type, ping, or voice chat with our team, preferably all three. This gives duos a huge advantage over teams with zero communication, while duos are playing in the same ranked queue as solos, which is compounded by the next issue, which is that players don't know how to play the game. There's nothing monitoring the role of the player to bring up a tooltip if healers are not healing, and tanks are not tanking, and ghosts are not ghosting. I've seen a ghost never deploy a single turret the entire match. While a tutorial and tooltips will get you so far, players will teach each other how to be better much faster. It's really easy to blame your team, but if you have incompetent teammates in every single match, it's a clear signal that the devs are not preparing players enough before throwing them into ranked matches where they'll learn at the cost of the time and frustration of their 5 teammates. It took 3 matches before I got a single kill, and I felt terrible in those matches. Then it took about 3 hours to realize that I wasn't nearly as good as I thought I was. It isn't so much about working together as a team of 6, but overcompensating for the 2 to 3 team members who are playing like it's the first time they've ever seen a computer before. This on-the-job training is going to cause many people to quit out of frustration or broken keyboards. Now let's talk about the gunplay. Most weapons are hit scan, but the rockets and grenade launchers use projectiles. This is fine, but the problem is the lack of recoil on hit scan weapons. Hit scan just means that there's no travel time of the bullet, so the moment you press the trigger, if the reticle is on the enemy, you will do damage. While a projectile takes the enemy movement, distance, and speed into account to determine if the enemy is hit or not. To balance these out, hit scan weapons should have different degrees of inaccuracy after their first shot, and recoil, causing the crosshairs to move upward randomly as you shoot. This increases the skill cap of these weapons dramatically, and offers enemies the ability to outplay them in anything but point-blank ranges, by increasing the time to kill. When you are reloading with a pistol as a cat, you should be able to cancel the reload animation and start shooting if you still have bullets left in the clip. The pistol and SMG should start the reload minigame if you exhaust 75% of the clip and not require you to use every bullet. I should be able to use abilities and reload weapons independently of each other. Many times I would have my reload interrupted by using an ability just before it's completed, and have to start all over. Each class should have an alternate use for the pistol sidearm to offer more diverse playstyles. An example could be the tank sidearm could change the shield, the assault could destroy shields, the healer could slow enemies down, and the ghost could do poison damage over time. A little ability criticism: the invisibility of the healer is OP because she can't be seen, gets a speed boost, and has invincibility frames. This would probably be much more fitting on the ghost character, who is more of an assassin, while the healer should have the blinks to reposition in a fight between offense and defense. Some abilities are broken when used together. For example, I once faced a team of 5 titans who just perma-shielded the point with the healer inside, and there was no way we could penetrate their defense. Another team had 4 healers and a tank, and it was just too much heal spam to contest. For some quality of life, I've got nothing good to say about this HUD, honestly. So much of the info is useless, and so much useful info is missing. I won't talk about the tooltip placement or notifications that are absent, but at the noon position, I can say the objective score is probably the best thing going for it, but it needs to blink or pulse when you're losing a point, and have some sort of drum pounding louder and louder for the last 10% to remind players to get to the objective. The teams at the top are not that helpful except to see the classes, and that information is available from the tab screen, as well as the respawn timers. It would be more helpful to turn them into cats when they are out of their mech and show life bars for your team. The weapon and ability loadout isn't too bad, but there's no point in having ammo values if they're infinite. Ability icon game is weak, but damn it all if that yin yang cat healer ultimate doesn't tickle your whiskers. I don't really need to know the exact health of my cat at any time, I just need a percentage. The current health, max health, name, and cat picture are all useless and as far away from the action as physically possible. All I need is a health bar. Make each block worth 20 health, so a bunch of small blocks equals a big health bar for a tank, and fewer larger blocks equals less health for squishies. Since the health bars are not on the HUD, it would at least be nice if I could see my allies' health through walls, but the health bars are occluded at a distance, and I have no idea if they're taking damage once they round a corner unless I check it out for myself. This makes you waste a ton of time as a healer focusing on each person instead of only the people who have taken damage. Duos and squads should not be allowed to compete in solo queue. This should be as obvious as pre-alpha, but I suppose it's always better to err on the side of inclusivity. Also, you should never fill a ranked match that has already begun if a player disconnects. This only compounds the problem and aggravation by creating 7 or 8 losers instead of only 6. If people left, it's usually because their team sucks, sadly, or they're having issues with the game. Introducing new players into this clusterfuck while it is halfway done is only asking for trouble. End the match prematurely after the point, giving the winners a small amount of MMR and take a smaller amount from the losers, except the person who left or went AFK. They should get the full penalty. Nobody wants to sit through another match of pure torture when one team outclasses the other so heavily. On that note, if the first match is 100-0, you shouldn't even play another match and just enforce a mercy rule, ending it right there. You should also give the players the ability to surrender after a certain point, and if you really want to get crazy, you could introduce the backgammon doubling cube, where a team only plays 1 round, and then the losers vote if they would like a rematch, and they can go double or nothing until the losing team decides to give up. This could turn close matches into best of 5s or 7s or 13s with crazy rewards instead of queuing up again and facing really weak or potentially strong opponents. The next quality of life improvement pertains to spawn camping. Bases should have 2 exits on the ground and 1 in the air using vertical movement, making it much harder for oppressive teams to push to the enemy base. You could also increase the spawn timers based on where they die, so the defenders will be spawning much faster than the attackers. Stop letting your new players get pounded into pressing the uninstall button. I think the matches would be better if they were 4v4 or 5v5. Players would have much more agency. Win or lose, the majority of the matches, I felt like I could have played much better or much worse and it wouldn't have changed the outcome. Perhaps they can try a 4v4v4 map with 3 bases, but if the maps were kept the same size and the players were reduced, I would increase the base movement speed while also taking into account smoothing their acceleration. When searching for a match, most people will be tabbed out of the game, so instead of changing the music, make the tab flash or come to the front so players know it's time to play. I don't like the toggle for healing. The weapon should do 75% base damage and heal allies or damage opponents at all times. Then a better ability can be added, such as a root or cleanse. Keybinds and controller support would also be nice features. The shield for a tank should have a 1-second debounce, so it can't immediately be cancelled by mistake. It is common to spam the button when stunned, so you can activate it the moment it's possible, and this often results in pressing it one too many times and turning it right back off. You should also get a reduced mech cooldown by damaging turrets, not just players. Now let's talk about the bugs that need to be fixed, such as getting stuck. You can get stuck in a box, wall, low ceiling while trying to remech, a turret, under the floor, above the map, and in tiny spaces. You can even get stuck in round 1 while everyone else goes on to the next map. Sometimes your gun will get stuck and you can't reload, though switching to your secondary weapon usually fixes this. And switching to your second weapon, shooting a few shots, reloading it, and switching back always fixes it. However, sometimes you spawn without a gun and there's no fixing that. Sometimes you spawn without a body, or a mech, or a team, and you can shoot your allies. Sometimes you win a match and it shows the results of the previous match due to a visual bug, and you think you've lost MMR after getting MVP. The hitbox for melee attacks is either really awful or needs its netcode reworked. Sometimes I could use my mobility skill right as I remeched, and the momentum will carry you forward away from the mech. If you hold the reload button while shooting the pistol or SMG, you can shoot infinite bullets sometimes. After a short distance, the hitbox for the rocket swells and will clip terrain that it shouldn't hit. You might have a great ping on round 1, and the server will switch, and your ping will double or even triple in subsequent rounds. That's it. That's my list. Would you change or add anything? Let me know, and why. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe so we can do this again sometime.